Hello, this is Anthony Manning, and welcome to My Journey to Kent. My traveller this time is Klara Birchley, who studied European Studies and Languages with us, and who also continues to work as a volunteer for the European Youth Parliament. Well, hi Klara, thanks for taking us on your journey to Kent today.
Anthony, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to talk to you.
I wanted to start by asking you the question, where do you call home?
Where do I call home? Well, home for me has always been very connected to my closest friends and family. And basically, because I was born in the UK, but then moved to Poland at some point, I don't really have one distinct place that I'd call home. So I definitely call Warsaw, the capital of Poland, home because I have my mum's family there and some of my best friends. But then I'd also call my English grandparents, my dad's home in the UK home. So I would never pinpoint to one place, but I would definitely say that home is wherever my family and my closest friends are.
Nice, that's great. And it's nice to be able to call more than one place home, I guess, because you get the best of both worlds.
Exactly.
Brilliant. And so you're taking us on your journey to Kent and beyond. So we're interested in what you studied when you were with us at Kent.
So when I was at Kent, I was at the School of European Languages and Culture in SECL, and I did a degree in European Studies with combined languages. And in my case, I chose French and Italian. And the reason I really wanted to do European studies with languages is I was really unsure at first what I wanted to do in general at university. I knew that I was interested in politics and I knew that I was interested in Europe and in languages. And European studies just kind of felt like the perfect combination of having all of them together. French and Italian because I had already done French at school, and Italian because I wanted to try something new. So I went for European studies, not kind of knowing what to expect, but I really fell in love with it. And now for my master's, I've kind of gone in that degree, in that kind of direction as well. So I'm doing EU international relations with diplomacy. So I've kind of taken everything what Kent's given me and taken it forward.
Brilliant. And did you have an international experience during your studies of those subjects while you were with us?
Yes, I was very lucky to go on a 1-year-long Erasmus. So because of doing French and Italian, I got the opportunity to go to 2 countries. I started off in Belgium, where I did my first 6 months of Erasmus in a small city called Namur. And it was a wonderful experience. And now I'm studying in Belgium again. So it really made me fall in love with living in Belgium and seriously thinking about living here in the future after I've finished my degree. And then I went to Italy, which was also amazing to meet people. And I was really worried because I didn't speak as much Italian as I did French, but it was also really easy to find myself with people from Erasmus, with people from Kent, but also with local people there. So it was also an incredible experience.
So what are your thoughts then as a student of European studies and with those experiences across Europe in many ways about the UK leaving the European Union and maybe the prospect of Erasmus not existing as it currently does?
I mean, fundamentally it makes me super upset because as somebody who is kind of exists thanks to the European project because of having parents from the UK, but also from another European country, the whole concept of Britain leaving is super upsetting. And I know that it's the same for a lot of people who are dual nationals, especially in the case, where they have one parent from the UK and any other EU country. It's a bit of an identity crisis because, you've been brought up in a way where, well, Europe's home because your parents are from different countries in Europe, and now you have the UK leaving and you kind of are a bit confused about what's going to happen. But I think it will be particularly a shame if Erasmus doesn't continue because it's such an eye-opening experience to be able to leave your home country and go somewhere even just for 6 months and experience the culture and realize how much in common you actually have with people living a few hundred kilometers away. And with not having that would be a major disappointment for people. I mean, it allows you to improve your language skills, but also become a more curious person, a more open person, and more prepared for working in a multicultural setting. So I really hope that even if the UK students will no longer be able to participate in the Erasmus program, there'll be other alternatives for them to still do the same.
Yeah. Absolutely, here and across the sector we're lobbying for that alongside the prospect of still staying in Erasmus if we possibly can, so couldn't be more. So I'm going back to your studies at the University of Kent. How did you first find out about us?
So I actually found out about the University of Kent from my dad, who told me to look into it because he had read good things about Kent. And he also knew that I was super interested in European studies. And my first contact with Kent was seeing this tagline of Kent, the European University. So that got me super interested. And, I really liked the idea of living in Canterbury. And I started reading more and more about Kent and about the language department and the politics department. And I just got super excited. And I thought it would be an amazing place for me to develop this passion for European studies and languages.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. And so we've been talking about your experiences as if they were a journey, and given the countries you've referenced, it feels like a journey. And so I wanted, in that context, to ask you, either practically or metaphorically speaking, if you were packing for your journey, what would your essential items be?
So metaphorically, it would definitely be open-mindedness, because like I was saying before, when I did my Erasmus, for example, I needed a lot of it because, people do things differently, and you really need to open your mind to the fact that just because they're doing it differently doesn't mean they're doing it wrong. They're just not doing it the way you're used to. And without that kind of willingness to be open-minded, the experience would definitely be completely different. So open-mindedness would be the first one. Second one would be patience, because I feel like there's a lot of patience required to be able to experience things, but also to, like, linking to what I said before, you need to be patient with the fact that things can be different and you need to adapt. So together with the patience and open-mindedness, I think I'd also take a bit of resilience, because it's also very challenging sometimes to be in an unfamiliar context and a bit scary, a bit daunting, and to be living a bit, not in this context, to be living far away from your friends and your family, especially right now in times of a global pandemic, when you can really only see them over a screen. You can't just book a flight home. I think you really need to bring that resilience along with you.
Absolutely, those are good recommendations for anybody, I think. And so you've described the pathway that you've taken through your studies and through your life so far. It sounds like quite an easy pathway, but have you experienced obstacles along the way?
Definitely. I mean, it's not been an easy journey. I think one of the major obstacles was this kind of battling with a bit of anxiety. I struggled with it a lot. For example, with my Erasmus, I oftentimes felt super overwhelmed, like I wouldn't be able to do it. And then I also felt guilty, because I was feeling like, all this anxiety is also meaning I'm not fully experiencing the things that I should be doing. And that played out also sometimes throughout university. You get a bit overwhelmed, you feel like you're struggling, you feel like maybe you can't manage to do it. And also sometimes when I was in my volunteering work, I also felt like, maybe I'm too young to be doing this, maybe questioning myself. So it took a lot, and I still sometimes struggle with it, but it takes a lot to, like, talk to people and be a bit more open to sharing your problems. I feel like we tend to not really openly admit that, I struggle with anxiety or I struggle with this, because we feel this social taboo connected to it, and we don't realize that actually a lot of people, I mean, regardless of the age, but especially people my age, we don't realize that we're actually all feel some people more, but some people less, but a lot of people struggle with anxiety, and it's really good to open up and to kind of build your self-confidence, because at the end of the day, that's one of the main things that also will help you to go forward and conquer the anxiety, and also reflect on the fact that there's things that you can achieve and you have achieved, and you need to keep on being positive and overcome that stress.
That's amazing advice. That's great. Thank you for that. So I wanted to ask you now, because you mentioned about your volunteering, I'm interested in when you were volunteering, if you don't mind sharing a bit about that.
Of course. So when I was in secondary school, around 17, I started volunteering for the European Youth Parliament, and I still do it up until today. So it's been 6 years now. And basically, the European Youth Parliament is an NGO that promotes non-formal education about democratic principles, but about Europe, about a bit of everything. It's present in 40 countries, and it's really about teaching young people what their rights are, how to be better present in civil society, and a bit about cultural exchange as well, because we're present in 40 countries, so we travel around a lot. So I started being active, like I said, in secondary school, first kind of participating, but then starting to organize conferences and also be the president of the Polish committee. And, when I was mentioning before, this kind of anxiety connected to like, am I too young to be doing this? I remember during my second year at Kent, I was the president of the Polish section, and I was thinking, I'm too young to be doing this. I should be, I should just be studying. I shouldn't be leading an NGO at the age of 20 or 19. But it was an amazing experience, and I still volunteer until today. And the project that I was organizing now was basically supposed to happen this summer, but because of Corona, obviously didn't happen, which is super sad. But we prepared a flagship event for 300 people for 10 days in Poland, and it would have been amazing. And, that's again when the anxiety sometimes kicked in, because I was like, you spent so much time organizing this 10-day conference, and then it didn't happen because of a global pandemic. Hopefully it can happen in the future. Yeah, when things get a bit safer.
Those skills that you developed through that organisation are still real, aren't they? Even though the event didn't take place initially as you'd hoped, that still took you on a learning curve with transferable skills. So I think, definitely need to remember that. So that's a great story about how volunteering and participating in that kind of extracurricular activity can really inform the work that you do in other ways. Brilliant. So you've taken us on your journey through Kent and told us a bit about how you developed some of your skills and experiences along the way. And of course, now you've moved on from the University of Kent. Can you tell us a bit more about your current destination?
Yes, so I moved, after finishing my degree at Kent this year, I moved to Bruges to do my master's degree at the College of Europe, which is a university that specializes in European affairs, which no surprise after what I've just told you. But yeah, I'm doing a master's degree in EU international relations and diplomacy, which without the basis I would have received in Kent, honestly wouldn't be possible. I really owe the fact that I'm here to some of the amazing professors at Kent, who both on the language side inspired me, pushed me to go on this Erasmus, where I kind of thought, oh, actually Belgium is a country I want to live in the future, and also my politics professors who really inspired me about the EU and wanting to specialize in this domain and thinking, oh, I actually would like to work for the EU one day, and ending up here. So I'm super happy to be here and super grateful for what Kent's given me, and to kind of fulfill this dream of wanting to work in the EU or something similar. So
brilliant. Well, it seems like they're doing all the right things to make that aspiration come true. And so thank you for sharing your journey to Kent with us. It's been great to talk to you today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.